welcome back to the 2025 IPSC World Championship here in South Africa. My name's Shannon Smith. I'm taking the helm for Mr. Lighton today. He's off doing some meetings or something, so I'll be running the show as best I can and try to fill his shoes. I've got our first guest here, a buddy of mine, Lee Nugent. He is from the U.S. He's also on the men's open senior team with me. Good morning, Lee. It's morning here in South Africa, so good morning.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
First impressions, so Lee and I actually traveled together unintentionally. We ended up being on the same flight and staying in the same town and with separate cars and separate houses. So we probably could have thought that better, a little bit better. But we've been here at the same time. So what are your first thoughts on the match as a whole, the stages, the travel experience, etc.?
Yeah, the travel experience was great. Little hiccups on the way, but the match here, just getting here and seeing all this, man, all those issues that we had and stuff, just went away. So it's a beautiful place, and it's pretty exciting. I can't wait to get started.
What's your first impression? I don't know if you've looked at all of them. I've looked at 3 of the zones hard and 2 of them partially. What are your thoughts on the stages as a whole?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised of how how open the targets are going to be in some of the zones that I looked at. So I've been to 2 zones, looked at them pretty hard, and just surprised in looking at how high the hit factors are. It's different. It's not something that we're used to. We prepared ourselves for at IPSC Nationals in the United States, and that was a hard match. Lower hit factors, much harder targets and stuff. But here they seem to be wider open, so it's gonna actually, I think, make for a new challenge, for most people.
I made the mistake yesterday of saying to Lighton, it looks like an easy match. I was like, I shouldn't have said that before I shoot. But I kind of thought the same thing, and we've looked through the hit factors in previous streams and talked about the same thing. Higher than we expected.
Yep.
Doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not what we expected to see.
No, I think it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Whether the lower hit factors are lower or the hit factors are higher, it's still gonna be a great match.
And it just changes the way you attack the stage, is what I was saying yesterday.
Yep.
Quick little history on Lee. How long have you been shooting?
So I started shooting in 2012. Didn't start shooting USPSA till 2014 is when I started USPSA, and it's been a blast ever since. So, but yeah.
So he's beating my butt these days, and I got 14 years experience on him. And he's older. You're older by 3 months or 4 months or something.
Yeah. Well, I didn't start winning matches or winning divisions until after my first class was with you, and
right.
So we've had a bunch of sessions, and I looked up to you a lot as a coach and instructor. So it's been really good.
So they're doing a walkthrough here. So we talked about looking at the stages over the last couple of days. IPSC is different, or I should say USPSA, which is what we normally shoot in the U.S., is different from IPSC in that in the U.S. we can go out and actually walk on the stages a day prior, 2 days prior, whatever. As long as the stage isn't occupied by a squad, you can generally go out there and walk. And that's a huge benefit, a huge difference for us, especially from the U.S., coming here where you can't do that. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it's a huge advantage for when you're in UNESCO, because you can come a day or 2 earlier, like we did here now. But you could actually walk the stages as long as there's nobody there or they're finished shooting. You can walk the stages and get your stage plans down and be ready for when you're getting ready to shoot.
So in IPSC, generally, you cannot. So you can't get out and physically walk on the course of fire until it's your squad's time to shoot. And it's normally not very long. You get 3 to 4 minutes tops. We got a guy shooting now. This is stage 2, so a little bit of a retreat stage, meaning you have to back up.
Yep.
And you'll notice if we can either stay here or come back to this when the next guy's up, safety standards are pretty high for obvious reasons. We're running around with firearms. And they have what in the U.S. we call a 180-degree rule, and internationally they generally call it the 90. But basically from straight down range, center of the backstop, your muzzle can never turn more than 90 degrees from there. So left, right, up, down, and obviously for safety reasons, we can't be running around pointing guns at other people. So
No.
super strict safety standards in the shooting sports, and it's a real testament to how they've developed that over the years. Because you think of how many matches are going on, you know, just in the U.S. every week,
Yeah.
and then you take the international contingent in there. It's a lot, and there's very few incidents.
Yep.
But you'll notice as this next guy comes, you can see he's doing his walkthrough, a little practice there. You can see how he's using his hand there to drag that gun behind him and keep the muzzle safely downrange. And having not actually walked on that stage, I imagine you could go left or you could come back to the right.
It looks like you can go right too.
Yeah.
So it's a shooter's choice.
So you can see this is Lee's first time in the fancy booth here. I'm just kind of showing him. You can see there. So that's a guy that just shot. So he's only down 1 point, 1 Charlie. He's shooting standard, so he's shooting major. So you can see the 1 Charlie there. So only 1 point down, so very accurate in 13 seconds, and that gives him the hit factor of a 4.2.
That's pretty good.
And that's kind of more what we expected. That's more of the hit factor we expected. So notice the gun handling on this guy. He's going to be coming back to his left, and you'll see how he drags that gun behind him. This is, of course, one of the areas we haven't looked at really hard, so I haven't seen this.
I haven't seen this one either.
Stage up close yet. Obviously, there's some
shooting production optics. Nice.
So that's a perfect
really
example. Yeah, perfect example of how he moves, keeping the gun down range. And then he gets back, he's able to get his body around it.
Yep.
We start off on Monday. As Lee was so nice to inform me yesterday, on a weekend only stage, which means left hand for us. So that's still the last guy that shot there. It'll take a second to pop up. So again, differences in international shooting. In IPSC, when they have a weekend only stage, meaning your left hand for me, you cannot touch the gun with your right hand, and they pretty much always, in my experience, the gun will start on a table or something.
Yep.
And you can't use your right hand to pick it up. So again, it's just you're getting out of your comfort zone, because in the U.S. that's not our rule. We are allowed to use our right hand to pick it up. So they had one of those at the IPSC Nationals, which is a national championship in the U.S., but it's run under IPSC rules. So it is an IPSC match. And they had one of those, was that a month ago or not even?
Yeah, a month and a half ago. Yep.
So we had to, once we were reminded of that rule,
it was a new challenge for us, for sure.
Yeah, so you got to figure out how to, in the hotel room, figure out how to pick up your gun with your left hand and not using your right to assist it and get the safeties off and all that jazz.
Yeah, pretty.
So it appears to me you can see that right target from that left position. So that's why they're coming back to the left. I generally prefer turning to my right to go back, but you got to be able to do both techniques. So that last guy was down 1 point as well in 8.
With a 6.5 hit factor.
6.5, yeah.
He was a little faster, so yeah.
There you go. So that was the last guy. So they got some standard guys on that squad and some production optics guys. There's a guy that just shot. So in 10, so he's right in the middle of the last two that we've seen. And you'll see down at the bottom, Lee, that shows everybody that shot that stage, but
just before
the top score stays at the top. So the guy that's not the guy that just shot, but he's the guy that has the highest hit factor. And then this is the guy that just shot here. So it'll be the most recent shooter, except for the guy that's currently winning of that squad.
Well, seeing this data is pretty cool. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, and we're getting better at it as we go. I'm still learning how the technology works. What's your thoughts on our first zone? We started, or they call it areas here. We start in area 3.
Area 3. Yeah,
We have seen that one pretty good.
It looks like a good area to start in. The bays are a little bit shorter. The round count's a little bit lower, except for the one big. I don't think we have a big stage in that zone.
Oh, we do.
We do. Yeah,
yeah.
one. That's right.
That's the one JoJo was on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 16, I think.
14.
Yeah,
I think,
14.
whatever,
Yeah.
one of them, yep.
So, but yeah, that one looks like a lot of fun. But yeah, area 3, it looks like a lot of fun. And it's going to be a challenge with that weekend stage starting off. So
probably need to get a little bit of practice on that tomorrow. a little bit more.
Yeah, we got one more practice tomorrow, and then we start on Monday.
And there's at least 2 weekend stages that I've seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen the other one yet.
That's the longer range one in the other zone that I was telling you about. If we can go to probably can't find it in a hurry. There we go. So I've talked about this with Lighton a little bit. So this is by division. So division is what kind of equipment you can run. Lee and I are shooting open, which is I call it the top field dragster of the sport. So I've talked to Lighton about this, but what are you thinking? Looking at those hit factors.
Look at those hit factors. See Greg there and Sammy, Christopher.
So Chris he's similar to you. He's super fast, little reckless sometimes, but super fast. So you can see
11 hit factor there.
11.
Yeah.
And that's the stage 9. So that's one of the ones we haven't really seen.
But the majority of them, you can see the majority of them. They're 9, 7s.
So we talked
11.
a little bit yesterday about this. Hit factor is confusing to the layperson, and how they math it out, and they go to 4 decimal places. But if you think about it this way, what that is factoring is points per second. So how many points did you earn for every second you were on the course of fire?
Right.
That's what that factor is. So when you see an 11, not knowing what his time was, he earned 11 points per second, and that's a lot. That tells us as competitors that's a fast stage.
It's a fast stage, wide
and
open.
You're going to attack that differently. I'm going to attack that differently.
Yeah.
We talk, not to turn this into a shooting course, but we talk about different types of sight pictures and different types of trigger pulls.
Absolutely.
And anybody can figure out that if you have to take a 50-yard shot versus a 1-yard shot, you're going to work that sight and work that trigger differently. So it comes back there to a partial and then open target on the right. You're going to work that sight picture differently. So when as competitors, when we see that 10 and 11 hit factor, we know we're going to have to be pretty aggressive. And
this is where we might have to push it a little bit.
Right. And the way I describe that is accepting less. So I'm going to accept less of a sight picture on some of those targets in the interest of speed. I might get on the trigger a little more aggressively in the interest of speed. But there's plenty of speed traps out there. We call them no shoots. They call them penalty targets here. That's the white guys you see, and it makes the area of engagement of the target smaller. Therefore, you have to work the trigger differently
And
there.
the sight's different. Yep.
What do you call your sight pictures? You still use the ones I did, or?
Yeah. Yep. Everything. Majority of everything that you taught me is the ones I still use for sure.
Okay, so we talk about a point shooting sight picture. That's where you're really a little windy here today. Really using more of a target focus.
Yep.
We're seeing the dot on there, but not steadying it too much. Really getting on it.
Not making sure it's steady, but so it's somewhere in that A zone that you're and then you're go ahead and pulling the trigger for sure.
And then the other side of that coin is our perfect sight picture, where we're stopping. I call it stopping the dot, and holding it as steady as you can, and then working that trigger without disturbing it. And when the next time a guy comes up on stage 2, I'll show you. But that as you come back, that left target is one of those penalty targets or partials, as we call them.
Yep.
And then immediately turn to your right for a wide open target at probably 7 meters or something. So that's a good example of flopping between those sight pictures.
Absolutely.
In the span of just 2 targets to finish the stage.
Yeah, you'll see people's cadence are different when they're doing that harder target and that open target.
We talked about not being able to get on the stages, which tends to mess with our heads for us U.S. people because we're so used to being able to do that. However, I will say that in general, IPSC stages are a bit less complicated.
Yeah,
they have to follow a 3-2-1 factor, which is a short course, a medium course, and long course. So each zone will have 3 short courses, 2 mediums, and 1 long. So the fact that you can't get on there isn't the end of the world, because you can kind of see what you're looking for from the back. Well, I think that's going to end us up, bro.
Cool.
Thanks for coming to join us. And,
awesome.
If you guys are out there, be sure and follow us. YouTube is the best place, although they're on a lot of the social media. but Action Streaming Live on YouTube, and leave a comment, number one, where you're from, and if there's something specific you want to see or want us to talk about or want us to talk to, let us know. We'll try to get that done. Welcome back with Action Streaming Live. We're at the 2025 IPSC World Championship. Pre-match is winding down. Today's the last day of the pre-match, and then we have open ceremonies tomorrow on Sunday, and then the main match kicks off on Monday. I'm joined here with a friend of mine from the U.S., John McClain, who's shooting production division. We'll talk a little bit more about the divisions later. Welcome, John. Give us a little bit of who you are and where you're from.
Hi, Shannon. Thanks. Man, it's fun. We had to travel thousands of miles to hang out when we could just be in the same state typically, right? But yes, John McClain, just like the movie Die Hard, spelled a little differently, and I don't shoot a Beretta. I do shoot for Rock Island Armory and Arms Corps. I'm actually shooting the brand new 5.0E from Rock Island Armory, USA. I'm located now out of a small town called Chillicothe, Missouri. I moved there about 5 years ago from Las Vegas, Nevada, which was quite a bit of a culture shock moving to a town of only 10,000 people.
Yeah,
but yeah, I've been living and shooting out of there now, and just having a great time learning all about living in the Midwest as opposed to the big city. So, but super excited to be here. Our trip to South Africa so far has just been really fun. The people here have been amazing. We've had a really great time. So I will say this: as much fun as I've had, I'm ready to get to work.
Sure. This isn't your first world shoot, right?
No. Yeah, so I did get to shoot one time in France. I was invited last year, but with all the restrictions with COVID and not sure what was going to happen, I passed. But
I was the same, and I actually made the open team again for Thailand as a 47-year-old, you know. So, but then COVID and got delayed, and then my schedule didn't allow it. So that was a bummer, but such is life, you know. And so in USPSA, where we come from, so we got a guy on stage 3 right now. We'll pick that conversation up later. So this is one of the areas that I have not thoroughly viewed yet. But it's one of the bigger stages, obviously. We talked earlier about how IPSC uses the 3-2-1 format, so you have a lot more smaller stages than we're accustomed to coming from the U.S., so that the big ones really count. We talked earlier about, I don't know if you've looked at scores at all, but there's 8, 9, 11 factors.
Really?
Yeah. Not what you would expect.
No, not at IPSC at all. Like typically, you're like, if for an open guy, a 7 hit factor is considered like a high hit factor stage.
Yeah.
I do know they're a little limited. I mean, the bay sizes here are not nearly as big as some of the other ranges we've shot. Like Châteauroux, France had like some 80, 90 yard bays that they made us shoot 80 to 90 yards with the handgun. So,
right. I think part of it, and maybe in another episode I'll get into some of the organizational stuff, because I do have experience running competitions. I've run a lot of USPSA nationals, and was a big part of running the world shoot when it was in the U.S. In 14. But I honestly think part of it, in addition to the base size, like you said, is there's a lot of people in this match.
yes.
And they got to keep it fast. And
Yeah.
so I think that has a lot to do with it, and that's just a logistics thing. And like I said with other guests, even though we didn't expect these types of hit factors, and even though that's not what I trained for, it doesn't matter. It's not good or bad. It's
Right.
It's just different. You
Yeah.
know? And it'll probably honestly play well to us, because that's where we're used to that more fast and furious.
Absolutely. Like I think a lot of shooters, when they're shooting USPSA predominantly, and then they come to an IPSC match for the first time, they still have that USPSA mentality of like, you know, go fast, take chances kind of thing. Like, oh, I'll hit a lot of Charlies, maybe a couple Deltas, but like IPSC does not allow for that kind of, like, you have to hit your points, because like you said, that 3-2-1 format, like you get one stage a day that you can kind of afford to try and go fast, but those medium and short courses, you need the points. And yeah, it's a different mindset for sure.
And John's shooting production. Here we go back on the stage 3. So he shot it differently. Having not really seen the stage hard yet, those two guys finished in different places. So that could be for a lot of reasons. You know, how it flows for that particular shooter, if you're left-handed or right-handed. But back to John's point, you know, he's shooting production division, which is scored minor. I'm shooting open division, which is scored major. And without going into the details, basically he gets less points for periphery hits. So talk a little bit about that. And like, even though they have wide open close targets, you can't get sucked in too hard to make mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, I always try and explain it kind of like if you were going to take a test, right? So if you were going to take a test that only had 10 questions, how many can you miss and still get an A? It's 1. But if you have a test that has 100 questions, you can afford to miss 10 and still get an A. And when you're shooting IPSC, especially shooting minor, you got to think, you know, when you have these stages where there's only 60, 70, 80 points, every time you drop points, you're losing a lot from the hit factor and from the from your chances of scoring stage points, due to the fact that, you know, you only have 60 points to hit, and if you don't shoot 60 points and you try and go for a fast time, like, you need to have points to go into your time. So shooting minor is, I mean, every time, the difference between us roughly is that every time he shoots a Charlie, we could shoot the exact same time, but if you have one Charlie and I have one Charlie, I'm losing because I lose 2 points for every Charlie versus he'll only lose 1. So it's very important for accuracy, and that's why you'll see, you know, a lot of these shooters here, you might say like, oh boy, they're really taking their time on that target, and you're absolutely right, because when you're shooting minor, you have to hit A's. Like, you know, dropping a couple Charlies is fine. Deltas will kill you in a match like this really quick, but
that's a great way to explain it using that test thing. I'm totally stealing that for future use, because that's exactly right. So we talked a little bit about divisions. He's shooting production. I'm shooting open. How many divisions are there?
Oh, geez, let's see. So we got production and open. We have production optics now, which is new by a couple years. Standard, and classic, and revolver. So I think those are the
six,
right? So,
and the scoring can be major or minor depending on your division. So production optics, for example, are always minor no matter what caliber you shoot. Open, you could actually shoot minor even though nobody does. Same with standard. Where it gets a little interesting is classic and revolver.
Yes.
So you can run major, but in classic, for example, you're limited to 8 rounds of the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go minor, if you choose to shoot minor, which is 9mm, you can go with 10 rounds in the magazine. I would venture to guess there's not a whole lot of major shooters in classic at this match. Would you agree with that? Or
I would say.
And John shot a lot of classic, so he knows more about it than I would.
Yeah, and predominantly in the history of IPSC, like, it's always been very friendly for a minor shooter because of, not necessarily because of the scoring, but because of the way the stages are designed. A lot of times, if you're shooting major and you only have that 8+1 capacity, you know, you end up having a different stage plan that might include having to do a couple reloads, maybe even some standing.
So here we got the beginning.
Minor, so
we got the beginning of stage 3. We haven't seen this yet.
And we got a right-handed shooter, so that would explain maybe why we'll see why the stage plan develops.
They started on a plate. There's a little shot there. So a couple of partials.
Then off to the left. So it's like a double stack with a no shoot.
The majority of people are finishing left to right up there. I only saw one guy finishing right to left.
See, and so it makes me wonder, maybe the guy that finished in that position that they're leaving right now, if maybe the reason he wanted to do that was to get closer to those 2 targets on the right.
I'm all for that.
That person decided to shoot, you know, a little bit further behind. So, and that's the cool thing about this sport, right? It's like, even though the stage is set up the same way for every person, some people will choose to shoot it differently, like you said, based on whatever their strong points are, or maybe what their weaknesses are.
Play to your strengths.
Yep.
As you get to look at more of the stages, you'll see there's a few where it's a really good opportunity to shoot on the move, and that's kind of rare at IPSC in my experience. But that's something where if you're a Chris Tilley type person and you're strong at shooting on the move, you know, you're gonna attack that stage differently than somebody else, and maybe shooting production, you don't get as crazy on the move because you need to get those center hits a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you shooting on the move in production, singles or classic, right? Like, is very rare to see. Even if you can, you're still better off almost staying static and just shooting targets, and then just running and moving as fast as you can to whatever your next position is historically. Like I said, I mean, just from doing my quick walk around. Yeah, I'm excited to shoot these stages, but like you said, I'm also trying to keep in my mental game, like, don't get sucked into the idea of go fast and take chances, because, again, this is not USPSA, this is IPSC, it's the world shoot, you know, so maybe don't try and do something that you wouldn't normally do in a major match.
Sure.
So here we
Back
go.
on 3 again.
So let's see, so he's opted to go left first, so he's taking these that'd be interesting because that second position was very positional for him. You'll notice he had to take some time to like kind of find the target after he was there. He wasn't exactly in the right spot, and
I think he took a target from way farther back that you don't need to. I think you can get it from that center position by the elephant tusk there.
yeah, I agree. So, and it almost looks like he would have had to create another position anyway. So he opted to shoot the same target from further back that you'd have to shoot up close. You know, but again, it's also a learning game. Like the cool thing about this sport too is that like you don't necessarily have to be the greatest shooter in the world to come and play in the sport and come to South Africa to shoot the world shoot, right? Like if
Absolutely.
if you are willing to just make the trip and come and represent your country as an individual, you get that opportunity. And it's I'll say this, it's a lot of fun. It's almost like a trip of a lifetime for some people.
It is, and it's a lot of work, but it's open to everybody, you know, and something like this is rare. You know, this is not your typical club match that we shoot every week. So, you know, it's a chore to get here. It's a lot of work. It's expensive, but it's an honor. It's an honor to represent your country, and I'm sorry I missed the last one, and I'm happy to be here at this one.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. This is the World Shoot experience is one that I would highly suggest if you can, you should absolutely take the opportunity. You know, go shoot the qualifiers, take your chance to get the invite, and then come in and like I said, have a once in a lifetime opportunity to travel abroad and shoot. I mean, pretty cool.
Where do you start? Do you know what zone or what area?
I believe I'm starting in Zone 5. I shoot late schedule on Monday, and then I'll shoot the early schedule zones, or no, Zone 4, and then Zone 5 early morning, and then my day off. So
All right, cool.
I'll shoot 2, day off, then shoot 3.
Awesome. Well, thanks for stopping by with us, man. It was good to see you. Good luck in the match. I'm sure I'll see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make sure I check up on you.
Yeah. Hey, if you're watching at home on Action Streaming Live, YouTube is probably the best place to catch us. Be sure and drop a comment there. Let us know where you're watching from. That's always fun to look at. And if there's anybody you want me to try to wrangle to talk to, or any particular subjects you want to talk about, or stage you want to see, let us know in the comments. We'll be sure and check it out. See you next time. Welcome back. 2025 IPSC World Championship coming to you from South Africa with Action Streaming Live. We got still have some action going on here with the pre-match. There's a couple stages still rolling, but the pre-match portion is coming to an end today, and the main match will be kicking off on Monday. I'm here with Emily Eddins. Welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and how you're involved with this project.
Yes, so as Shannon mentioned, my name's Emily. My husband is Aaron Eddins. He's on Team USA's Open overall team. So he's a competitor here for the main match that's kicking off on Monday, and I'm here not only supporting him, but working on the social media side of things for Action Streaming Live. So I do a lot of the back end work that you don't see a face with it, which is fine by me. But it's like going around the match, getting content of, what's going on here, what are the shooters doing, and ahead of the match, and before we even traveled out here, we did some features of the U.S. team and really showcased who was coming from the States. And now that we're here and are with other countries, we're going to get content on them as well and start to feature them so that anyone watching from, I'm just naming different places now, but, people in France can watch the French team, and all around the world will be able to let them see familiar faces, which is always exciting. So I'm just working behind the scenes, showing everyone what's going on here and showing everyone who's competing.
And is this all done by us, or is there any other countries involved in the production, or is it just a you thing? Or
Yeah, so right now our social media team consists of me, Sarah, and Caro. Caro's in the States, so a lot of times if we don't get through editing our content for the day, we send Caro footage, and she creates reels for us in the night so that when we're awake here, we can post it, or she can post it throughout the night for anyone in the States. So we've got a really good team here.
Awesome. We're back on stage 3. Oh, this dude's pretty good. So we saw a little bit of this one earlier, and he's approaching it a little differently, much more aggressively. A lot of that has to do with skill level as well. I might have forgot a load there because I was a little late. But otherwise, a pretty good run. He smoked that first section. So as they finish up and unload and show clear and reholster, then they'll check their scores and make sure it's correct, and then be popping up to us when we get our live scoring going.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about other countries.
Yes.
Have you guys talked to many of them yet, or?
So right now we haven't necessarily. We have had a few reach out now that our page is getting a lot of more traction. We are, getting feedback from other countries saying, hey, have you thought about featuring XYZ shooter? And we're like adding it to our list,
cool.
and we're going to make sure we keep our eyes out for them, because at the end of the day, we want to give our viewers what they want to see and feature who they're looking for. So we don't have partnerships with other countries right now providing us content. But if anyone out there has something they want to feature, we can take a look at it and see if we can work it into those countries' posts that we're working on. But we're looking to get a lot of like live content here for them to then start representing the other countries.
So I'm at an Airbnb in Potchefstroom. I think hopefully I say that right. My Wi-Fi is not that amazing, so I haven't honestly seen a lot of the coverage that we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of feedback are you getting from folks?
We're getting a lot of good feedback. We're doing a mixture right now of live stories. Stories posted on our social media, and then actual reel posts. So yesterday we did a post that wasn't necessarily shooter focused. It was on, hey, what's available here when you get to the World Shoot? And we showed the main area up there. There's food, there's drinks, there's coffee.
Oh, okay.
So if you're here all day, you've got food options.
We got another guy coming up on 3. I can't tell what division he's in. But once you get a look at the draw, I can tell pretty quickly. He's running a dot, so he's in production optics. Running pretty much the same plan as the last guy, so he's shooting minor division. Like we spoke with our last guest, even though his targets are wide open, when you're shooting minor, you really want to hit the middle. He did said that same load problem. Go to a backup mag, that's never good. Even if you don't know how the game is played, you could probably tell that that's not exactly what he wanted. So he had a problem with that first reload, the first magazine. He had some type of problem with it. Either it didn't go in and he dropped it, or sometimes you can strip around off the top as you're pulling it out of your pouch, and it'll prevent it from going in. That's why we always carry more than you need, because that happens to everybody.
Yes, you'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Right. So that was interesting coverage because you really don't know if you haven't been to something like this before. You know, even simple things like my wife's first question is, do they have real bathrooms or not? You know.
Oh, they do. They do.
I know.
So for any of the females out there who are concerned about a real bathroom, or males,
Yeah.
there are real bathrooms. No porta-johns.
But just the
here.
logistical things of, I have to be there for 5 hours. Do they have food? Do they have water?
Yes.
Do they have facilities? And
Yes.
what's the weather like? And this weather's been perfect. A little windy today, but it's been great weather.
Yes.
Do you shoot?
I do not shoot. I mean,
What?
I will conceal carry. So I do that. I have my concealed carry permit. I passed the proficiency needed for that. But I do not compete. I've never actually even shot an open gun, even though my husband has multiple and shoots all the time. I never have.
Well, I can fix that in about 5 minutes.
You know, I don't know what his reaction would be if he came to pick me up and was like, "Ah, you finally shot." And
Yeah, maybe not.
No, I'm just kidding.
He's better than me, so I'll live. We talked to. So this must, I can't tell what country that is, but this must be their production optics team back on stage 3. So they're starting with an 8-inch plate, metal plate, so that's kind of a tough shot. And then there's a couple of open targets off to his left, so you'll see him smoke those pretty aggressively. And then as he comes out to the right, that's where those partial targets are out to his right. So those are danger targets with the penalty targets on top of them. So there's the plate shot. Smokes that pretty good. And there are open targets there. And then he's going to turn. Oh, different plan. That's interesting. So now he's going to have to retreat back to get those partials right here. So it's interesting. So you can see right there, those 2 targets off to the right. Those are partials. So there's what we call a no-shooter, a penalty target underneath, giving you much less surface area of scoring zones. So he chose smartly to get closer to them. I say the older I get, the closer I want to get to the target. So, and we talked a little bit earlier that's one of the interesting things of our sport is you can do it differently based on your strengths. You know, so maybe he's not the most accurate guy in the world, and he wanted to get closer to him. So this is the World Championship.
Yep.
The pinnacle of our sport. You know, it's our Olympics. We're probably never going to be in the Olympics, but this is as good as it's going to get for us. So it can be intimidating, you know, flying halfway around the world and carrying firearms and import permits and stress and drama and luggage and then you also have to compete and try to do well and block all that stuff out. Some of the ammo that I shipped didn't make it, so I had to scrounge to find enough because I couldn't carry enough to complete the whole match. So all those things are just one of the other guys on our team is also had ammo problems and that he wasn't able to get it. And the stuff he's getting is not working properly. So now he's trying to tool on his gun 2 days before. And
that gets in your head.
Right, 100% gets in your head. And so that's one of the challenges. However, especially in the United States, but even countrywide, there are local level matches that are exactly like this, just on a much lower scale. You know, we're shooting 30 stages in 6 days at this match. When I go to my local match, we shoot 6 stages in 2.5 hours. You know, so it's the same challenge. It's the same thing. And the cool thing about it is it's open to anybody.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you're safe and you can handle a firearm safely, nobody cares if you're good. Nobody cares. And you think they do, but they don't. You know, but yeah, you have to find that right person because you have to obviously like firearms, want to shoot. But the bigger challenge is you have to find somebody that wants to compete.
Yes.
Because a lot of people aren't interested in competing.
Yes.
And aren't afraid to look like an idiot in front of a bunch of people you don't know.
Oh yeah, it's intimidating.
And that's what I'm saying. Like nobody cares. You know, as long as you're safe, we've all started there. We were all there at some point in life. And you even mentioned that Aaron hasn't been shooting that long in the totality of things. You know, I've been shooting almost 30 years, and on a competitive level. And so another guy on 3. I'll pause the conversation. So he chose to start on the open targets and then go to the plate. A little easier first shot. Never a bad plan. He's doing that same plan. So he's going to finish on the back right. So we talked earlier about the 180-degree rule, which we call it in the U.S. Here they call it the 90. But he's got to keep that muzzle safely downrange as he moves backwards. He just did a little visual check there to see where he was going. So he's making those shots longer than the other guys we saw. but they're open. They're big targets, choosing to get closer to the smaller targets. You'll see the RO holds the timer behind his back there, so it doesn't spontaneously pick up another sound from his rack of the slide or whatever, and then they'll go and do the scoring. But again, I don't know what IPSC has exactly. I could look it up, but USPSA, for example, if you are in the U.S., they have a club finder on their website. You punch in your address or your zip code or whatever, and it'll tell you all the ranges around there. Contact that person and go out and get involved. You know, we're pretty serious competitors, but you certainly don't have to be. You know, you mentioned you're a concealed carry person, so you probably know a guy that can get you involved in the sport.
Yeah.
You know, I would always recommend to my students, because I teach, you know, self-defense classes. It's not all competition stuff. To go out and get involved in a match, even if it's not your jam, like if you don't love it, if you're going to carry a firearm or use firearms, you could pick up one a quarter or twice a year or once a month or whatever, and it's great augmentation to your training, and you don't have to do anything. You know, show up, pay your $25 or whatever, and they set everything up for you. You go out and play for 2 hours, and then jump in the car and you're out of there. So getting involved is super easy.
Yes.
And it's not that expensive. You know, if you base it off any other hobby out there, it's golf or skydiving
They
or
all
whatever.
have a price, don't they?
Everything, and you can, as we were talking earlier before we started this, you can make this as expensive as you want. You know, we just flew to South Africa, for Christ's sake. So that's where the costs really start to come in. So what do you think's next for this weekend and for the streaming process, and where can people find out more about it?
Yeah, so this weekend, this is going to be our last stream today, and tomorrow we will not be streaming. It'll be Sunday here. Nothing's happening here at the range, but we're going to kick off Monday streaming again bright and early. We have the main match starting on Monday, which is really exciting. I know you're excited to kick it off too.
I am.
So we're going to actually be posting tomorrow stream times that you can expect to tune in. Obviously, we're going to have a replay after the fact as well, so that if someone misses the live, because we do have a lot of watchers not in this time zone, and you know, it may be very middle of the night for them.
They're not up at 3 in the morning watching us?
Yeah, so we're going to have an option for them too. So just stay tuned for all those details, but just plan to tune in on Monday, and you will see us live here or can watch the replay.
Cool. There's 4 flights of shooting going off, so we'll have probably different hosts coming in, because I know we'll be shooting at certain blocks throughout the day. But it's going to be way more action going on next week than has been going on now, and we'll be happy to bring it to you. So be sure and follow us on YouTube, ActionStreamingLIVE. If you want to leave a comment, let us know where you are. We'd love to see where you're watching from, and anything particular you want us to talk about or see or talk to, drop that in the comments, and we'll do our best to make it happen. We appreciate you guys watching. Thanks, Emily, for spending some time with me.
Absolutely.
We'll see y'all next time.
See ya.